had no idea what this was that I was looking at. To me, it was a man, a hairy man with a beard, wearing a fur coat in the summer. And a very big man. But then it stuck in my mind for decades, literally decades, until it finally clicked, after watching other TV shows and specials on not only Bigfoot, but Siberian snowman and Yeti and so on. It clicked as to, okay, that's what that was. And back in, you turned in the
Days are freezing, right?
Yes, we are. God bless you. We thank you. In 2004, I moved to Beaver County, Pennsylvania with my husband. He owned a home there. I remarried, but I moved up there with him. And almost immediately, activity started at our home. Something would whack the side of the house, primarily behind my head in the bedroom. I could, occasionally he would talk, anyone here have heard of the samurai chatter? Where you hear it's their speech, it's their language. And it sounds like, apparently he was conversing with another one, but I thought it was the ghost of the former owner. At that time, I didn't know what that was. And, but as activity continued, the beating on the side of the house and then peeking in my windows, and he would frighten my dog. He would try to scare me, and at first he did. I would go out into the family room, with my dog, and she would react a certain way whenever he was around. Whenever he was peeking in through the patio door, she was always laying, watching out that door. That was her post. And whenever he was there, she would start giving a mixture between a whine and a growl, just a very soft and low whine growl. And then she would crawl backwards until she was huddled up against me, just shaking in fear. And initially, it frightened me. Okay, what's going on here? What is this? Is it a ghost? And it just kept going on, and it connected after a while that it was a Bigfoot, after watching TV shows. And I know one night, he pulled the same crap, scaring my dog, and I got sick of it. My temper just, okay, I'm done. I'm done with this nonsense. I'm done with you bullying my dog. I ran out the door, threw the door open, grabbed the golf club I had sitting there. I chased after him, hollering at him, "You leave my dog alone." But he just ran off. And I figured he's a bully. Bullies are cowards. That's all they do is run. And but he continued. He didn't leave my dog alone. He just continued. We moved away from there in 2016 and moved a little bit further out in the country in Lawrence County, where we are now. But before, I'm getting ahead of myself here. In 2007, I saw him peeking up over, there was a stone wall behind my home, and I saw him peeking up over the wall at us, and he was silhouetted by the setting sun, so I couldn't make out any features. You know, all I saw was, he had beautiful hair. It's like a reddish gold in the sunshine. It's very pretty. But I said, "You son of a bitch, I see you." And he ducked down real quick. 2015, my husband and I were out driving in Columbiana County, Ohio. And we were driving down Route 7. He was driving, I was a passenger, and I was just looking out the window. And it's a forested area, and there was a dirt lane, and on that dirt lane, I saw a Bigfoot come out of the woods, cross the dirt lane, and into the woods on the other side. It's like, we're going about 35, 40 miles an hour. And so that sighting didn't last long at all, but it was long enough for me to identify what it was. Now, he was the biggest one I've ever seen, because whenever we passed by and I saw him, I didn't say anything to my husband. You know, I said, I'm thinking to myself, process of elimination, okay, it's not a deer, maybe it's a stump, maybe it's a tree, but trees don't move like that. And, or maybe it was a bear. No, it wasn't a bear. So I made my husband turn around and go back, and still didn't say anything. And I told him, stop here, I want to look at something. So we stopped, and I'm sitting there studying that lane, and where his head was about 12 feet. He was a big SOB. His shoulders were, I wouldn't even be able to estimate how wide, but he was husky built. Just huge, wide shoulders, super wide shoulders, and just walked, stooped over, and how they walked. That was 2015. 2017, we moved, our new home was built, and we moved in. This is in Lawrence County. I'm enjoying my new home, sitting on the front porch and looking out at the field across from us. There were a couple cows that were in there occasionally. They were transferring them back from one field to another, but I can't remember if the cows were in the field or not at this point in time. But I'm sitting there, and I see 3 deer come out of the trees at the top and walk down the hill right along the tree line. And behind them, here comes a Bigfoot. Very tall, very slim, and he had like a grayish brown colored hair. The other ones, they had black hair, black and brown. And he just followed them down the hill. The deer calmly walked down the hill, and then they cut into a game trail at the bottom. And he just followed right along behind them. And he was about 9 foot tall. The one day I saw my neighbor, a few weeks later, I saw my neighbor on that same path. And I knew how tall he is, so I was able to compare his height to a tree branch that the Bigfoot had walked underneath. So I thought, gee, he's taller than what I initially thought. Because I initially thought he was about 7 foot, but no, he was 9. the last individual that I saw, I was invited on a expedition to Oklahoma with some friends, some fantastic researchers. And my sister and I were out there for a week, and every single night we had activity. We heard vocals, whistles, at least one. Everybody in the group had at least one sighting during that week, and it's fantastic. I tell you, southern Oklahoma is, you wouldn't think it. Yes.
Is that with the Wood Ape Society?
Yeah, they research in what they call Area X.
Yeah.
That's in the Wichita.
They do it in shifts.
Yeah, in fact, I know exactly where their area is. I'm gonna go there in October.
Yeah.
Because they kind of over researched that area to death, and they're not getting any more activity because they basically chased the Bigfoot away. But friends of mine know where that area is. We may pop in there just to check it out.
I would go on the outskirts.
Yeah. But no, we'll probably return to the active areas that we had in 2018. We had so much going on that entire week. The one night we were in an area called Purgatory. It's nicknamed Purgatory in Caddo County. And a few of the guys were doing calls, and then Kumbo did a challenge call.
Oh, where Kumbo is.
Okay, Tim Kumbo Baker is a very good friend of mine. He is a retired NASA scientist, as well as a Bigfoot researcher since the 70s. 1970s. He grew up with a Bigfoot on his farm. He's been researching both Bigfoot and Dogman for since that time. He incredibly intelligent man. The discoveries that he has made in the Bigfoot field are amazing, and unfortunately other Bigfoot research organizations have claimed his discoveries, but they're his. The one night we were there, he did what's called a challenge call, and we heard a Bigfoot off to the east respond a couple miles away. Then another one to the west respond. Another one to the north respond. And as they're responding, they're moving in. Calling, very pissed off. They're moving in. They're running full tilt in on us. And they're calling all the way in. And we're a little group of 14 researchers standing there thinking, okay, this is going to be interesting. So we're standing there, and quite a few of the guys were armed, but nobody was drawing anything yet. And on the most part, we don't. I've never drawn my pistol. I've put it on to show them, hey, you're not going to scare me. But that's about it. But they came in and they stopped about 50 yards out. And that's it. They just stopped and they were silent. We could see the eyes shine. We could see movement up in the brush above us. We could catch them a little bit on the flares. But they didn't do anything, just stopped and waited. And then about half an hour later, they just went off. And it was silent, no more activity that night. On the way out, we were heading back to camp because it was pretty late, it was around 12:30. One of the guys was having trouble with his pickup. So we pulled over and parked in the casino parking lot. And everybody got out, their trucks, and they got their heads under the hood and tinkering, trying to figure out what's going on. And 4 of us were still in Chuck's pickup truck. No, it was Dave's pickup truck. I was sitting in the back seat with my sister. I was behind the driver, and myself and the passenger in the front seat were the only 2 in that vehicle who had had experiences. And we both knew that it doesn't matter where you are, you always stay alert, no matter where you're at, even in a casino parking lot. My sister and the driver never had a sighting. Yeah, as soon as the vehicle stopped, pick up the phone, playing Words with Total Strangers or whatever people play on their phones. I'm looking out the window, Chuck's looking out the front window. Here comes this Bigfoot, running from between the casino and the building next door, across a brightly lit parking lot, past all the pickup trucks, across a 4-lane highway, into the woods on the other side, running out full tilt. Guess how fast? Guess how fast he was running? Because I was able to figure it out.
65.
Okay, anybody else?
52?
50.
You heard this story before. You cheated. 52 miles an hour. Because I was able to get on Google Maps and figure from point A to point B, take the time it took him, because both Chuck and I agreed on the period of time. So I was able to figure out how fast he was running, and it was 52 miles an hour. You didn't hear the story.
Did I miss the story?
You missed the story. How fast do you, take a wild guess, how fast do you think a Bigfoot can run?
300 miles an hour. 300.
300.
Oh, you suck fast. How fast do you? I don't know. How fast?
Well, they have been clocked at different speeds by different people. In fact, they've been chasing trucks and so on alongside trucks. In fact, a friend of mine had the back quarter panel dented by one that he was chasing his truck. But he clocked that one at 45 miles an hour. The one I clocked was 52 miles an hour in a brightly lit casino parking lot.
Really?
Yeah. And soon after, a security guard came out, and we were talking to her, and I asked her, oh, you have to have security cameras. You gotta have security cameras covering this. And she said, yeah. And I said, do you think we can have a copy? She said, no. She said, we know they're here. They come around every night. Our employees refuse to go out to the dumpsters at nighttime. They refuse to take out the food because the Bigfoot are there raiding the dumpsters. We found handprints and footprints all around the dumpsters.
And what
Think
is this
about
at?
it.
I'm like,
This was in Oklahoma.
What state is this in? Is this in our
Oklahoma.
state? Oklahoma.
Yeah, that was Oklahoma. There's casinos all over the place, on all the native reservations out there.
Wow, that's cool.
And we learned pretty quick to check dumpsters around restaurants, and so on, where there's food that's easily accessed Oh, yeah, they'll go after
And
it.
sightings at a landfill not far from here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you check it for handprints and I got photos. Unfortunately, not on my phone. I should print some off and put them in there, but so mostly what I have, I have a folder here of photos of footprints and tree breaks and so on. And we have printed out some of the handprint photos.
How's your knowledge of thermal ridges?
Pardon me?
Thermal ridges.
Oh, thermal ridges.
Yeah, you know a lot about them?
That, yes, some prints, yeah, you can see the dermal.
If you seen
Yeah.
one, would you know it?
Specifically, no, you can tell more of the size of the handprint, more than the dermal ridges, but I have heard something about.
Cause I have a picture of thermal ridges I got in
Okay.
a partial print that was obscured by rocks and leaves.
Oh, okay.
But it sure as hell looks like thermal ridges.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I study, different, discipline of, study different disciplines, but master of none, or what is that, jack of all trades, master of none.
That's still my line.
I know a tiny little bit of researching and, all different types of disciplines, but I depend on the specialists. We have primatologists that I have access to.
Biologists.
Yeah, biologists, wildlife biologists, policemen, there's many policemen in our group, many, quite a few government workers. A friend of mine worked for the Canadian, DNR, and she was one of my research partners. She would come down here occasionally and, we'd research together. But she had a very traumatic experience, similar to Glenn's, where something vocalized very, very close to her, blew out both of her eardrums. And after that, she quit researching. She stays completely away from anything Bigfoot related. Which is a shame. She was a very good friend, but maybe someday she may
Our hearing
return.
gets better, man.
Yeah.
Our hearing comes back.
Yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't want to go out without being on the hearing.
Yeah, no, her hearing is back. She developed Parkinson's though. So, I don't know. But, yeah, the one that I saw up in the field, walking down after the deer, I've since seen him twice more. I've seen him, late at night whenever I take my dog out, for last call. And, I've seen him running out from behind my house after some deer. Another time he ran from back behind my house, and we have a new neighbor. I hate having neighbors that close, but they had to build their house. I don't know how far from my place would you estimate their bill, my neighbor? About 100 yards.
The new house, the old house.
No, the new house.
The neighbor,
Just up on the same side from us.
not even 100 yards.
No.
Not
It's
even.
not 100 yards, I know that. But he ran from it, and this was, I think, it wasn't a full moon, but there was a moon out. And whenever he ran from behind my house, he ran across to their house and ducked in. There was like a really shady area between their chimney and the house. And he ducked in there. And, I just thought, holy moly, is his hair pretty? It just glinted all silver in the moonlight. It was something. But, yeah, so far, yeah, I've had a few AP moments. If you know what AP moment is, ask Pucker moment. With them, where I've been growled at from 8 feet away. I've had rocks thrown at me, tree limbs thrown at me, trees pushed down around me. I've had my truck rocked while I was inside sleeping, trying to sleep. And yeah, I ignore them.
Did you, with any intelligent animal, there's a pattern develops. Did you ever determine why or want to know why this individual keeps coming back? Is there a reason? Did he like the
Oh,
dog?
yeah.
Did he
Oh, yeah.
like you or just like the air? Or does he just not want you there and try to get you out?
It could be a combination of reasons. At first I thought maybe the woman who used to live in our house, I thought maybe she was feeding him. But there's a restaurant just up from the house, so I thought, no, he probably is, they are bored on the most part. They are always looking to us for amusement. We are their entertainment. And I think I was their entertainment, myself and my dog. Her reactions amused him to no end, I think. And that's what pissed me off, you know, to no end, you know, the way that he deliberately scared her. You know, she was a rescue that I had gotten. She had been abused by her previous owner, and I had worked with her for years trying to bring her out, you know, she would never bark. I never heard her voice. But little by little, you know, I encouraged her and showed her that, yeah, you can be loved. And what he was doing to her was, oh, yeah, he just made me so angry. But he would come around, it was on a pretty regular basis. I started marking on my calendar, it was about once every 2 to 3 weeks, he was on a route. And God knows he may have been doing the same thing to other people on his route. My friend Tim Kumbo Baker, the NASA scientist, he had been studying them for years and what they do. He said what they'll do is they have a circumference that they'll travel of about 35 to 50 miles. And they'll feed out an area in about 2 or 3 days and move up. Feed out that area 2 to 3 days and move up. And just work their way around 2 to 3 weeks. They're back at point A again. And it worked out. And I've questioned other people who are reporting the same thing. You know, as to the time frame that whatever was bothering them at their homes, you know, what time frame was going on. And they said, on the most part, 2 to 3 weeks. Any questions, comments, criticisms?
Thank you for sharing us.
Thank you. Please join the group. Get on Facebook. I've got a ton of t-shirts here, patches. I even have Pennsylvania Bigfoot Project socks. Magnets for your vehicle, all kinds of fun things, tea towels for your wife. No, I thank every one of you for coming. I really do. You're special to Bob and Glenn, and they've got a great research area here. I think from everything that I've seen of what they're doing, I'm amazed, and I think that I hope that they are able to get more evidence I think that you need to tell about what you've been doing and what happened to your son.
We were investigating an area a couple days ago. My son's 9, he's autistic. We were walking into an area where we've been investigating quite a bit. We found footprints in the area. Actually, we found 3 sets of footprints. One set that was in a lower area by a lake, and then 2 separate sets of footprints that were about 1.5 miles into the woods in the game lands off Suskin Road in Pittston. And we were still walking in pretty further. And I've been having my son with me hiking in the woods quite often, so if he sees a deer, he knows what it is. If he sees a bear, he knows what it is. All of a sudden, he kind of yelled, "What's that?" And he started pointing out into the woods. And me and my wife, we were following behind him, maybe about 30 feet or so. And he kind of caught my attention, but I didn't focus right away on what was going on. And I asked him, "What'd you see?" And he was kind of hesitant at first, and he was like, "A bear? I don't know." And then I was like, I didn't want to press him about it, but he did seem a little bit spooked. Normally when we go out hiking or walking together, he's running ahead of us quite a bit. And most of the time walking back to the vehicle, he was pretty much at our side and didn't want to wander too far. And the next day he had a dentist appointment that he had to get partially sedated where they use nitrous oxide. So after that was all done, I opened up my phone. I had a picture of a bear, and I had a picture of a Bigfoot afterwards. So I asked him, "Is this what you saw yesterday?" I showed him the picture of the bear. He's like, "No." And I kind of showed him a picture of a Bigfoot, and he's like, "Yes, King Kong." So, am I 100% positive? No. But I think there's a good 70 to 80% positive that, hey, maybe he did see something. But going by his behavior alone also, it was pretty interesting. And in addition to that, we've seen the footprints in this immediate area already. And a couple weeks ago also that me and Glenn were in this area also. It was pretty late at night. And we had a campfire going. We had a lot of rustling that started off a little bit in the distance, and every 5 or 10 minutes later, you hear it coming in much closer. At the closest point, it got to about 35, maybe 50 feet away. The area's pretty dense, a lot of bushes, a lot of thickets. Tried checking with our flashlights, couldn't get any eye shine, but most deer would go the other way. A lot of times bear would go the other way, but this, whatever it was pretty big that kept coming closer, so it was pretty interesting. And the area that we've been looking at, so massive that we've been in this area for a few weeks and haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg.
Not to interrupt, but I had massive success not far from where they're talking about. Countless times I rocked a lot of things, more than I can count. So I didn't get the footprint you guys got, but yeah, I can
Except that night we built the fire. It was about 27 degrees and little
Yeah,
flurries.
It was a cold night.
Windy.
It was nice by the fire, but once you step 10 feet away from the fire, it was
10 feet
cold.
away from the fire, you're just like, whoa, it's cold.
Yeah, Bob told me about that.
That was a cold one. All right.
Michelle, you want to share your?
Yeah. I'm Bill Rigby. I'm her right hand, as she says it.
Yep.
And I'm the chapter lead for the Mercer Lawrence County chapter, which is clean on the western PA side. And I always believed in Bigfoot. You know, I always knew there was something out in the woods. I was always out there. Well, a few years ago, I started really getting back into trying to understand why I'm seeing these tree structures. I got property in Indiana County along with Mercer County and that, and down Tennessee even I saw these structures. Down in Florida there were some weird looking tree structures. And so I started doing more studies and wow, Bigfoot. So I'm doing more studying on it, more studying. And I got on YouTube and I started following this one guy, I can't remember his name, and saying there's one on his property. But every time it wasn't supposed to come out, it never came out. I'm like, this guy's full of bull. So I started doing more checking. I went on Facebook. I found Pennsylvania Sasquatch Research and I joined it, joined Mary's, and started doing more studying. But what really got me was back in 1999, 2000, I was in Indiana County, up on Penview Mountain. We were bear hunting. And as I started to go down over this way, which is headed right down, which is a long ways down to the tracks and the river, but I know which way I'm going. The next thing I know, I'm way down 3/4 of a mile to almost a mile, going toward Blairsville, PA, which is directly west from where I was going. I was supposed to be going south. And it's like, well, I didn't realize where I was at. I was still confused. I'm looking around like, how did I get here? I see the sun coming up, and I go, where's the Bear Cave cabin at? It's 3/4 mile that way. Well, I must have got turned around, so I head back up. I took my time, and I'm feeling kind of woozy and disoriented yet. I get up, I go, get in my car, and I go home. I said, the heck with this. I got home and I told my wife, I said, something ain't right. I said, I got lost up there. And she, you got lost? Yeah. And she's, that's not you. So, you know, I didn't think nothing of it. Well, now we move up a couple years ago. I'm really getting heavy into studying. Started hearing about infrasound. Okay, maybe, nah. Well, this Debbie, that with our group, she found out about a Bigfoot being on a friend of her dad's property. So Mary, me, and Debbie all meet with the guy. We go to his property. Me and Debbie found some prints right away. And well, Mary stayed there and talked to the husband and wife. We leave and come back out and that, was talking to him. Said, well, come back, you know, do some more investigating. We've done it a few times. Well, we started getting up to the stone's throw at us in one area. Every time me and Debbie went in there. Well, then the one day, me and her was walking, and all of a sudden I just got real sick, real weak, and I was getting a little disoriented, and I had my walking stick with me, thank goodness, that time. And I go to Debbie, I says, I gotta get out of here. She said, what's wrong? And I'm pale too, she said. I said, real weak, sick, my stomach, not feeling right. So we're walking out, she calls Mary, and she's telling Mary everything's going on. She says, Bill just got hit with infrasound again. So I did more checking. Yeah, well, big animals can do it too. Their praise and that. Okay, fine. Well, I kept telling Mary, I said, I gotta have a sight. I need to see one. And she kept saying, careful what you wish for. Well, she said, you really wanna have a sighting, we'll go to Saltport State Park in Ohio. It's a hot spot. All right, we'll go camping there. First night, we'll go walking down the Buckeye Trail. And I get ahead of Debbie and Mike Bennett. And I kneel down, to look down the trail like this here, and out of the corner of my eye, on the right side, I see something move. So I'm turning my head over this way. And there it was. And it went like this here, with this big ass paw down and lean in 10 to 15 feet away from me. And yeah, it scares you.
Brings
And
back.
it affects you. I ain't afraid of nothing, and nobody. I'll stand there and fight with the biggest guys. But that thing scared the living shit out of me. And I start backpedaling. And I start yelling back at Debbie and Mike. And I get back to them, because they're about 100 feet behind me. And I'm backpedaling away, and I'm seeing it got up and turned and started going. And I said, it's there, it's there. And Mike says, I know, I just saw a Bigfoot's ass going down in the woods. I'm like, what? I saw the whole thing. What do you mean he saw an ass? Because he saw it running away. But we walked back down, because I knew it wasn't there. We walked back down there real quick. I'm looking at the tree. It was about 7 foot tall, 4 foot wide on the shoulders. The muscle tone on it was, Arnold would have been happy with it looked like that. You know, and it still affects me. You know, and I want to see another one, but I don't want to see it that close. Never again. You know, but then we, like I was telling you, now I don't give a shit about DNA. I know they're real.
Yeah.
You know, before, DNA, yeah, don't prove it. No, they're real. I want to know why they're doing the tree structures. What do they mean? You know, they're signs for something. The way they stack the rocks, the way they put stuff in trees and that. There's reasoning behind it. That's what I want to know. We're going back to Saltport next week. We're doing a big camp out there.
And you're all invited.
If you guys want to travel to the hot spot,
Yeah.
that is it.
Yeah. Honest to God, if you wanna come, April 21st to the 24th,
Yep,
contact me or get on the group,
or me.
or go.
And I've been planning this since, September last year.
Yeah,
I've been putting it together. We got some different researchers coming, from different groups, and they all know, you know, it ain't no big head, I know everything. No, we're all there to learn from each other, and, yeah, explore a little bit, and see if we find any more. Because Mary and I was there, again, what was that? October?
yeah, it was cold,
October, November.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, we were there. And we went to the group camp area, which was closed off.
It was a moonless night.
Yeah, and we found a branch stuck into the ground,
Just jammed in.
just jammed into the ground. And I'm looking up in the trees like, they didn't just fall out of this tree and stuck there, there's no way. And you couldn't have flipped out of that tree to land there like that. That tree's too far away. So we know something jammed it in there. Then we're looking down over the one area, start getting some eye shine. And I walk up closer to it, to that area, and I'm looking down. And it dawned on me, because when we were there before, there was a trail right outside the camp area into the brush. And it goes clean up around the camp, hits the Buckeye Trail, it cuts across and comes back down toward the road. And where it cuts across the Buckeye Trail, where I had my sighting, and between the trail and the road is where we saw the ice, about where it was at, even with the Buckeye Trail.
It was pretty high up.
Yeah, and she got real nervous because it was just me and her. We needed at least one other person there with us to cover our backside.
I could feel them
Yeah.
sneaking in on us.
Yeah,
So I went to my truck and got my pistol and I just put it on, I didn't
Yeah.
draw. But, you know, like I said, you know, they know what weapons are. They, even in the dark like that, they can smell the gun oil. I mean, really.
Yeah.
You know, if you work with guns, if you clean your gun, you know, Hawk's gun oil smells pretty strong.
but then, I got ahead of myself. I found a trackway in March of last year. My sighting was in August, March of last year, in Mercer County. It went for over 100 yards. I went, oh no. And then it got to where the point is where you look out over toward the road, turn around, come back, and went up into the woods. There's that, the Shenango Dam. And my first attempt at trying to cast a print, I screwed it up. You know, so I kind of learned from my mistake there. But that was an awesome find. Brenda and I.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. What was weird is we just walked in and went walking up into the woods and I thought I saw something. And I couldn't be sure what it was. I saw it dart off. Could have been a bear. I don't know. We're up called the Pines. And so we're coming back out and Brenda didn't see it. It was a Bigfoot, it was a small one. So it was a bear. I said, I don't know. I didn't get a good enough look. So we kept arguing back and forth about it. Then we get out on, start walking closer to the water is when we found the trackway. Talk about a change of attitude real quick. We both were all cloud nine. And I had casting stuff in my van. I ran to the van, got it, mixed it up and poured it. And she had to run to Walmart and you buy the boxes of plaster in the crafts department for kids to make a little plaster stuff for their hands. She went and got that to make hers. Well, hers came out really nice. There was a big stone stuck in the middle of it. And mine, I got it out, I took it out too soon and it just fell apart. So we didn't get a cast, but we had that track. So I'm pumped up about that. I'm pumped up about out the farm, and all this. And then I had my son. And I showed you guys a picture I got on my phone of it. I've got a drawing.
The drawing, oh, okay, you showed it to everyone?
Show you these guys here, but I'll show you. The head was big. Wasn't conical shape. It was more round shape. And it was big. It had I call it a boxer's nose because it was a big flattened nose. I can't tell you the eye color because I wouldn't stare in the eyes. To me, they're a predator, especially as big as that sucker was. But the muscle tone, the hair was about 6, 7 inches long, a dark brown, and a darker brown. The skin tone was dark brown, the hair was darker brown. 7 foot, 4 foot wide shoulders, massive, and what we figured out was doing is like counting coup, where they see how close they get to you without you noticing. And well, he got pretty damn close to me. And like we talked, how did he get there without us hearing him, as big as he was? But we did not hear him. He did not put out a smell. Like some people say, dead dog, skunk, and garbage smell. Well,
Did you go ahead?
yeah, it's
Stress.
stress, or I think that's mechanism like a skunk. He wasn't worried about me, so that's why I couldn't smell him. But why didn't I hear him? I still want to find out why. That's the other thing I want to learn. How can you be so damn quiet? You know, I had my training in the woods too. That jungle warfare training when I went into the service. And you can only be so quiet, but that's a super quiet. So I want to see how they're doing that. I want to see why they're building these structures. I know why they're killing deer and meat them. You know, same reason I am. But you know, the other stuff, DNA don't mean shit to me now, and I'm being honest. Because you know, different ones, they're, well, we need DNA. Get out there, but be cool about it. Relax. You will get a sighting. You know, like what happened with you guys. You'll end up having a sighting. There ain't a doubt in my mind. You know, the thing is, then everyone says, well, why didn't you get a picture? All right, my phone's back here. He's right there. Oh, hold on, let me get candid camera time. No, bye. I'm out. You know, and they said, well, I went got a picture. You say that without seeing one that close. You know, I really wasn't expecting it. You know, got to be honest, I wasn't. But even being at Saltport, I was not expecting to see one because so many people go there trying to see one. And, you know, and the thing is, I still didn't get what I wanted from them. The Ohio howl. I want to hear. I've been there twice now, and I still haven't heard. I will this time.
You missed it.
Yeah, I missed it that time you guys.
Yeah, we went back and we camped, I think, a month
Don't
later.
remind me.
Bunch of us couldn't go.
Yeah, I couldn't go.
One night,
Came out.
4 Ohio howls in a row.
No.
And he wasn't there.
And of course, they had to tell me right away. Really rub it in, you know?
The question that's baffled me, so I used to research, being anywhere to land is researching. I used to have that was my spot mostly. They weren't very vocal there for me, but where I live now, Monroe County, you hear them all the time, so vocal.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think the difference is?
It could be that the human population in the area might be where you're at now. There may not be as many humans around.
It
Might
actually
be
seems
more.
like there's more.
Well,
Yeah,
I
because
noticed, you know,
where we're talking about, it's
Yeah.
vast.
Is it really?
It's vast.
Okay.
Like-
They're quiet around where I live also. I very, very seldom hear
I heard
them.
one whoop.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah. And I'll hear an occasional, female call in early spring, and occasional bionic.
Up
bionic
around
whistle.
the dam, I haven't heard none, no whoops, no sound, other than tree knocks.
Yeah, I've heard those.
Yeah.
That's what
I
I
don't-
hear at the quiet zone. That's what
I think when they start sounding off.
Some monkey chatter we did hear.
Yeah.
And that same
I
time
got
we
it.
got
I
rocked
think
over.
when they're sounding off, they're letting other ones know, hey, we're here, you're over there, someone's here, and stuff like that. I do believe that. And I become good friends with this one gentleman. He's gonna be at the camp out one day. He had encountered when he was a lot younger. He was hunting, and he ended up within 15 yards of one. It was actually using hand signals toward him. And that went on for several minutes. You know, my encounter was 30 seconds at the longest. I mean, first spotting it, to backing up and then going out of sight at the most 30 seconds. But then he realized it was actually hand signaling another one on the other side of it that was closing in on him. He got out of it. I'll have him tell you the whole story at the camp.
Yeah,
I believe they use hand signals, they use the samurai chatter, they use the whoop, they use the tree knocks, all as communication.
They have a very wide range of vocals. They'll imitate other animals.
Yes.
They'll imitate us. They'll even imitate machines, motorcycles and lawnmowers. Yeah,
Birds.
those birds, fire
Owls.
trucks, I heard one imitating the siren of a fire truck or an ambulance. Whenever we crossed over from Oklahoma, just over the state line into Texas. And I'm hearing the siren and I'm thinking, oh, must be highway over there. And Kumbo said, no, there's nothing there, not for miles. That's a Bigfoot. There's no roads over there. No, they imitate doggone things for whatever reason, amusement.
No,
Who knows?
not just that, they imitate, they study people, study other animals.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they are an intelligent life form.
Yeah, they are.
The things they do gives you more questions. But, you know, you gotta think they've been surviving out in the woods for thousands of years. You know, and now with the internet, you got more people coming out that's brave enough to say they had a sighting without getting ridiculed. I believe they've been sighted a lot more back in the days before even the Patterson-Gimlin film. But people got ridiculed for saying it. I dare anyone to tell me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody escaped or lived in the woods.
Yes.
Gorilla escape.
It was a bear. Now, true story, I heard it 2 times secondhand. You know where I'm going with
Yes,
this
oh, yeah.
one. On Route 376 between Newcastle and Sharon. The lady was, Bigfoot got hit. Landed in the medium. 2 different people secondhand told me about it, and the cop said it was a bear. Well, my first chapter meeting, you know, I think my little skill, Mary did hers, and we asked anyone who wanted to talk. This lady stands up and starts saying a couple of little experiences. Then she started on about going 376 toward Newcastle, And in the medium laid a Bigfoot hit by something. And she started to describe it out. Ma'am, wait a minute. She looked at me kind of funny and says, you actually saw this in the medium? Yeah, I'm not lying. I said, no. I'm not calling you a liar. And I started smiling really big. I said, I heard this story twice secondhand, but you actually saw it? Please describe it. And she hit to the T. And she even said how the butt was ripped open and how she saw the meat in it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is why I do this. To hear people tell me their experiences too, you know, and what they see. Not just for me to find out, but hearing that.
Yeah, this is one reason why
Yeah.
I started up these county chapters.
Yeah.
Because this area of the state was getting neglected.
Very much
You know,
so.
all of us, you know, we're in the western part of the state. We have conferences, we have festivals, we have meetings, and we go out on expeditions and so on, and we're very active out there.
And that's when me and Mary started discussing about the
Yeah.
chapters.
Yeah, and
And
I
she
kept
went with it.
hearing from, you know, everybody across, you know, on this end of the state and in the center of the state, saying, you know, why don't you come out here and hold a meeting and, or do a conference or something? And I said, well, you can start up one on your own and have a get together with fellow researchers. And it wasn't happening, so I thought, all right, let's throw out a challenge and start up county chapters, you know, as part of Pennsylvania Bigfoot Project, and give the people a voice. You know, there's so many witnesses all over the state, you know, all over the country, where they're ridiculed, they are harassed, they are afraid to come out, you know, with what they're witnessing, what they're seeing and experiencing. Even their own families are harassing them and ridiculing them. And that to me is unimaginable and horrible shame. And so I wanted to give them a safe place and an area in their own, or someone to talk to in their own area. People who are familiar with where they live, and someone they can talk to who believes them, who won't make fun of them. And that's why what you guys are doing is so important. It honestly is, and I appreciate it to no end. And if you open up another chapter in your county, wonderful, just contact me.
We'll do whatever we
Yeah,
can to
we'll-
support the chapters, you know. Coming this way is kind of hard because it's a 5.5 hour drive for us guys. For me and Mary to get out here, but we'll try to get this way
Yeah, if
more.
not for the first meeting, you know, like you guys, but we will do our doggone to make it for one of your first 3. But we're adding on more chapters, you know, so weeks go by, and
We just got
it's
2 more.
exciting. Yeah, it really is. It's exciting.
And it was great, it's that we all help each other, so we all learn from each other too.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what this group's all
Yeah,
about.
and we, unlike the large organizations, the Not Finding Bigfoot Field Research Organization, we share what we learn. We don't hoard it and hide it away in a mysterious database. We share what we know. We share our findings. We will protect areas because we're protecting the Bigfoot in that area from people who may come and do harm to them. But what we find from our research, and you know, we travel all over the place. You know, I came back from Kentucky just a couple weeks ago, Land Between the Lakes, National Recreation Area, if anyone is familiar with that area. It's pretty infamous. for some killings, that happened there back in the eighties and nineties.
There was other killings too.
They were, yeah, I know.
Native American.
Yeah, I was at 2 of the killing sites. In fact, I was at the RB killing site and the bow hunter where he was killed, and I was where they found the body, because the creatures had dragged his body down where the rest of the troop fed on him for a while before the body was found. But yeah, they creepy as all heck. But,
We're going on another investigation in Butler Armstrong County
yeah,
here next month, beginning of next month.
Warren County,
Yeah. The one in
Forest
Butler-
County.
Yeah, the one over in Butler Armstrong area. Me and Mary went camping there the weekend before last.
yeah, yeah.
And, with a group of people there. First day of trout, had a bunch of fishermen there and that. But the guy that owns the property is over 200 acres. And he says he has activity there in the whole 9 yards. A couple people spoke about it. Well, he had me go to a gun bash with him last Saturday. He took me around, it's kind of funny. He goes, "Hey, I want to introduce you to this guy. This is Bill. He's a Bigfoot hunter. He's with the Mercer Lawrence County chapter of Pennsylvania Bigfoot project." But he introduced me to a bunch of people, and they started telling me in that general area, like you were saying, Bob, that certain area where the activity's at.
Just clusters and clusters,
Huh?
just like little clusters.
Yes.
It is, yeah.
It is, and it's, so, we're going back
Yeah.
the weekend of May 14th. Several of the people I talked to is going to be there, so we can get out the reporting form there, we'll get it filled out, get the whole 9 yards. We're spending the whole weekend, and I just got a text from Debbie. I told Mary she's gonna be there. We got a couple other investigators gonna be there. It's gonna be interesting, because
Thing is, whenever people are having problems and they get desperate because something is harassing them, or else, like Butler County, where it's very, very active area, we'll go on investigations.
yeah.
And we'll help people, and it's cost money. This is why I sell t-shirts and various other
Yes.
things, gasoline's expensive. And, but we do this, to help people, help ourselves really, also, because we're all learning, there are no experts in this field.
What? No experts.
No, and I have to admit, I'm not one.
I'll never be one. But one thing I'm going to say, the one thing you definitely need when you go out, and Bob, you better get this for yourself too. The ticks are bad this year,
Yeah.
seriously. Even in the towns, in the cities. The ticks are bad. And they came out early, and with a vengeance.
They're here
Today's 70 degrees and they're warm, they're out.
But no, seriously.
It was in the middle of winter, freezing cold weather, I've gotten bit.
Well, went on that hike with Jamie and them.
Yeah.
And it was cold. And we pulled 3 ticks off the one girl, and it was cold. So, you're going out,
Doesn't matter.
and you gotta be careful for what you do, seriously.
It's not the dog bite, it's the tick bite.
I just got bit by a tick delivered in the mail.
Yeah.
The Lyme disease and everything, but I caught it early.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, it's debilitating, right?
Yeah, and the other thing I always say too, we're out there learning and that, but trust your gut. I don't have to tell him that, because he knows. He can tell you.
The second thing, where, always, like I said before, it doesn't matter where you're at, even in a casino parking lot, you stay aware.
Yep.
Yeah, whenever I'm not driving, I was scanning.
My wife yells at me for that. Pay attention, I am. I'm just,
We got about 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
Any of our new people want to share something or
Questions or stories?
activities or anything going on?
You share your
Get yours.
encounters?
I didn't get to get your story. I know a couple people did, so have a chance.
Yes, my name is Bob, live in Scranton. I have relatives that live in Hot Bottom, which is north of here. We have 150 acres, and we're all hunters, and they're serious hunters, and there's 7 of us moved in the woods on opening day 4 years ago. And this is opening day doe season, or buck season. And they have a whole mountain in the field, and again, nobody's screwing around because nobody wants to get shot, and everybody wants deer. And it was right before the sun was coming up. You just barely see the trees, the leaves, or the branches, you know, in contrast to the sky. And to my 5 o'clock, I heard something. Now, when they dropped me off, they said, Bob, this is our land. I'm at the bottom of the mountain, 150 acres. From here over is ours. From here there is nothing for 10 to 12 miles, nothing. There's nobody's over there, so shoot something here, it goes over there, we can get it. But don't shoot anything over there, it's not ours. So, okay, so this is my vector here, I'm sitting. By 5 o'clock, I heard a whistle. And it was a distinct, but there's no birds out, you know, it's November, it's beginning of winter. And I turned, can't see anything. And at night you don't look straight at something, you look around it, and your peripheral vision will tell you, give you the outline of it. My eyes are ripping around and ripping up and down and back and forth, I can't see anything. A second whistle, now that was a little softer. Definitely a whistle, and then the third whistle after that, and softer even more. So it sounded like it was going away, and it wasn't only the boys, because again, nobody wants to get their butt shot, and also they want deer. Was it 2019? My wife and I were in Lackawanna County at the Lackawanna State Park in the Dalton area, Clark Summit. And it was on the end of the camping season, and we happened to drive up there, and we noticed they have these things called a yurt. Very fancy cabin. Actually, 6 to 8 people could sleep in it. And there's a sink in there, a refrigerator, and they're really nice. There's only 2 people in the whole campground. Well, including us, and we decided, let's just stay the night. And so we stayed for one night, and we called my mother and my sister, and they all came up, and like, oh my gosh, look at this, and we had a fire, and they left. And I went to bed. It was only her and I in this yurt, this fancy little tent cabin deal. And again, about 150 feet to our left of the front door of the cabin was somebody else camping there. And we woke up before 4 o'clock in the morning. It's a new place, you know, you can't sleep. And we started playing rummy, we were playing cards. And all of a sudden, it was about 20 minutes after 4, we heard a mwah. Now it made an M sound, and I don't know what would do that. She put her cards on, looked at me and said, "What was that?" I leaned over and said, "What do you think that was?" No. I said, "You want to go outside?" "No, I'm not going out there." But whatever it was, it made a mwah. Now we left early that morning because we were up. We left like 6 o'clock in the morning to go home. And somebody who was familiar with Lackawanna State Park, as you're driving out, the lake is to the right, and to the left there are primitive camping areas, and like Boy Scout groups would use them, or Girl Scout groups, and it's just open field really. We drove up in there, and there's a lot of deer. Those 3 fields, I seen 3 bucks and a whole bunch of doe. So there's a lot of food in that area. Then my cousin and I, we went, and this is Bill Moore, he told me, we went out one night to a place in this area. It's in Ransom Township called Dark Regions Road. And it's a dark place. There was a fatality there. A little infant was burnt in a car years ago, and it was a traffic accident. And strange happenings there. And you can't drive through it anymore. It's blocked off. between the little town of Milwaukee, is the beginning of it, and the end of it is on New Branson Boulevard. My wife actually grew up in that area. She, 30 years ago, would take her car down, and used to drive it right into the water. She used to wash her car there, but you can't drive down there anymore. It's actually, there's guardrails blocking it out. So we went down there one night, and it was dark, 10:30 at night. And soon we started, I made a whoop call, and as loud as I could, and he goes, "Oh, you nailed it, you nailed it." And in about 7 to 8 seconds, we heard a answer us. Now, it's not a bear. I know what bears sound like, and it wasn't a deer. Deer don't do that. Deer more of a huffing sound. And every hair in our head, every hair in our body stood up. We're like, we have to walk. We're going in this direction. That's where it came from. So, I'm a cop. I always have a gun with me, and I had a .357 SIG, which is like a .57 Magnum, and he had a .40 caliber. So, you know, we're out here for this reason, but it's more for protection for us, just to, hey, stay away from us. And, you know, we didn't see anything. We did a couple of knocks, walked down. As we're walking back, about an hour to go down and back. As we're coming back, in the same area where I made that call, we only made one call. In the same area where I made that call, as we're walking out, a rock came from across the creek, went, and we couldn't believe it. Every hair on your body stands up. We didn't see anything, it was a rock. And in my mind, in my twisted logic, I think as we came in, I made the call, and the individual on there thought it was like, "Hey, Joe, is that you?" And then he realized it's just two knuckleheads walking down the street. So as we're walking out, the rock landed behind us saying, that's right, guys. Keep going, get out of here, keep moving." So 2 or 3 weeks later, I told my brother-in-law. So my brother-in-law came with us. And now my cousin is all out, got infrared and sound stuff and night vision.
Night vision binoculars.
Yes, so we're going. And we walk down, we don't see anything or hear anything. As we're walking back out, the same place, Dark Regions Road, my brother-in-law started telling us a story about the game camera in Georgia about the samurai cop. I know of it. I know of it, and I've seen the video. I didn't know if Billy, my cousin, knew about it. So I let my brother-in-law, who named Brian, let him talk. He's between us. And he's talking to us. He's telling, yeah, on the game camera, you can hear that. Now, he's doing this. He's making this sound. As he's going, when he stopped, as soon as he stopped, we heard a, again, from that same direction where it came, where when I made the call weeks ago, that direction, because we're walking out now. And my cousin, Billy, and I looked at each other, "Oh my gosh, you hear that?" I said, "Yeah." And my brother-in-law said, "What?" He goes, "I didn't hear it, I was talking." I said, "Oh," and we actually got the recording. You could hear my brother-in-law going, "What?" And then you hear, and it was, again, it is not a bear. Yeah. That's not a deer. It is too guttural and low tone to be anything like that. And it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what the instance I had.
Do you have a sound file of the,
I'm sorry?
do you have a sound file?
He's the techie guy. I just press on and off.
I can send it to you.
Yeah.
I can definitely send it to you. I got your card.
And you have
Definitely send it to us.
The funny part with that story is we're both like deaf in our left ear. Like not deaf, but we can't hear well. Like, so we're always doing this. So the guy that we brought had good ears, and he didn't hear it. We heard it. Right? Literally, like it was, that's backwards. The thing that started on that mountain was I'll be back. Yeah.
You know what your most important weapon is whenever you're out Bigfooting at night? Is a flashlight, at least 750 lumens, at least.
Yep.
Because they do, they are diurnal where they're active during the day, but more likely during the night, mostly during the night. Their pupils are wide open. With you, and they will. You blast them, shine that light right in their eyes, they're gonna back off. They'll run away to
I have the new
avoid that.
police flashlights. When you don't click real fast, the strobe
Okay.
And it disorientates for people at night if they come at you.
Yeah.
And, yeah,
Yeah.
it's intense.
And never run, because they're a predator and you become prey if you run. But, don't shoot them. Yeah. And I know that they will bluff charge. I've been bluff charged before, and, like a bear, they will bluff charge. Don't panic, don't shoot them, because if you shoot them, you may only see the one, but there's 5 other ones hiding nearby, and they'll rip you apart in no time.
That's what I described before, measuring a guy a 9mm, 44 or a shotgun, you know.
Yeah.
I know it's not gonna, you know, it's more the noise of bang to
Yeah.
disorientate and, you know, a lot of times car horns scare them, like they get away and things like that, so that's what it's for really, because I know it's not gonna stop them.
Yeah, no. And something little like that, no. You'll nick their teeth, that's about it.
Well, I might have time to tell one more quick one, so let me tell you about, the time I found that good hair sample. This is back in Arizona. The same girl actually that I had walked home that night, Peggy, her and I were in that same vicinity, closer to the lake, closer to the creek area. And we're drinking a bottle of wine. Finished the bottle of wine. I asked her to take it with her, because I wanted to look on the other side of the creek. I'd never been on that side before. So I go across this little levee that's like deep on this side, and the water's coming in from that side. And I can just cross it. It's about 1.5 feet wide. So I go across the creek, and I start walking down. I get about maybe 100, 150 yards, and I see some fresh breaks in the stick on some barbed wire there. And I'm like, oh, fresh breaks, you know? So I'm walking up toward it, and I see this clump of blondish hair, and it was as thick as my thumb, and about 4 or 5 inches long. This huge clump of blonde hair. Now, I had found a lot of what I believe to be, I know is Bigfoot hair, was black where it came out of the scalp and turned to red in this Arizona mountains. A lot of that hair did that. You know, and I checked out hair from manes of horses and tails, and they probably didn't like me, but. So I'm looking at this hair, I'm probably about 1.5 feet away from it, and I'm looking at it, and then all of a sudden, every hair on my neck stood up. I mean, there was just something, like some evil spirit looking at me, something. I don't know why, but I did a 360 and dropped to my hands and feet like a spider, or like a ninja. But dropped down to my fingertips. And I'm just looking up in every direction. I'm just slowly backing up on my fingertips for about 4, 5, 10 feet, and I slowly stand up and I walk out. Just walk out. I'm walking across that little creek again, you know, like this is deep, like they can just reach up and grab me, I'd be gone, you know. And it was getting dark at that point. So I go back home, a friend of mine come out, first light in the morning, 2 of us go out there. Take him right to that spot, barbed wire, breaks, the hair is gone. The hair is gone. I'm over there, I'm like looking around, see if there's any trace of it, anything. I'm looking at other, you know, area right around that area. My friend goes over to this rock. This rock is probably about this big around, kind of like a pyramid kind of arc to it at the top. And he lifts it up, tips it up. Why? I have no idea why he tipped it up. But there's barbed wire underneath that rock, twisted up and hidden underneath that rock. Now, the creek is 15 feet over and down. If a human was fixing a piece of barbed wire and had a piece left over, he would either throw it in the creek or carry it out with him, or just leave it there. I mean, it's a human. They're not gonna hide it underneath a rock. And there's no other animal that I can ever think of in my lifetime that would hide barbed wire. So that was a big mystery to me. not only the hair I know be gone, and a big blonde clump, you know, that must have hurt. But I might have startled it coming up that side of the creek, and it jumped over the barbed wire or got tangled in it on its way over. The thing that got me later on was that barbed wire, about 4 feet above that, was attached to a big tree. I mean, almost size that table. I didn't look up. I looked out, I looked around. I didn't look up. And I'm kind of glad I didn't. I don't know what I would have saw.
They will climb trees.
Something was watching me and following me out. AG and I, somewhere near the Pocono area, we got bluff rushed by, there was 4 of us.
It was near, Rhododendron Drive, remember?
No, that's the other Laurels.
Oh, no.
That's okay, they don't need to know the location.
Yeah.
But I drove my SUV over there, and the 4 of us hiked around in the Laurels. It's like about a 2-mile weaving maze through these Laurels. And we hiked down there for a couple hours. I said, let's get out of here, let's let this area cool down, go to another area. So we went and hiked over there for a couple hours. I'm gonna shorten this a little bit. So we came back to this area just before dark. I backed in this time because it's a little muddy on the one side. So I backed in my SUV. And the 4 of us are bullshitting. I told Stephanie, I said, why don't you talk a little bit, just say a few things. So she did, said a few things, just to have a girls know that there's a girl there, you know? So a few minutes later, I'm out about 25, 30 feet out, and people are shining a flashlight on my back. So my silhouette is going onto these Laurels, and it looks like about 12 feet tall because I'm behind a flashlight, you know? And I'm just out there doing what I told her. I'm just talking, just saying, trying to put them at ease, you know, trying to calm them down if they're there. And I come back, and AJ got into the front seat of the truck, or the Jeep, my SUV. And I decided, I didn't tell anybody, I said I'm gonna do a yell and replicate what I heard in Arizona. So I turned around and the window was open on my truck. So I decided to go to the back of the SUV. I go to the back, here's the tailgate, or the back of the SUV. I just, about a half a second, just as loud as I could, kind of replicate the pissed off one I heard in Arizona. Just real loud. And within a half a second, something started stomping up at us. The branches were just snap, snap, snap. And the force on the ground was
I felt it in the passenger seat.
it was like
I felt it.
1,200 pounds.
I felt it to the point where I
It
turned
was
around
just
to look. And then I
stomping
heard
up at me. At this force. I mean, everybody just jumped into the truck. Stephanie's boyfriend at the time, not for long, he jumps in the back door of the SUV and slams it. I get in the front door. She has to run around the truck. She wasn't gonna go around the back, no way. So she was like, I took off, and they're like, don't stop the thing and knock the truck over, go, 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 you know. So we did. And we all kind of wanted to go back, but nobody wanted to go back right then. Oh, I didn't want anyone to get hurt or that. So AJ and I go back out the next morning, and we find some of these branches that were snapped that are 2.5, 3 inches.
And our heart ranger tells us that, oh, there's no way there's anything like that here. I did that myself. I was cleaning up this and then.
No, that was like, we got caught in that area, and it's kind of technically Forest Service area, but it's not. It's like right inside and outside of that border area. And there's a house that lives up there, and then there's a private community that lives farther down. But we told them we were on what we were doing. But I'll tell you, that was, it scared the shit out of you.
It stopped short, it didn't come all the way out?
No. No, there was at least 4 steps, but the power of the steps, I've never heard any animal. And I've heard horses, you know, stomp in their front, rear up and stomp their front, you know.
The trees that stick around broken. So.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Looks like a
crazy.
bulldozer went through, yeah.
Basically.
And that's right where, an area where I found like a broken tree that was laying down, and like 20 or 30 sticks all weaved in together in one area. And then out here was hair covering this whole
Deer hair.
Okay.
deer, fox, all kinds of hair.
Oh,
And a huge plop of
dinner table.
poop, and another big plop of poop, you know, and that's right in that same area where I kept bringing people to get, to find out what we found.
Saying about hearing the footsteps, that Butler area that we're going to, a guy witnessed one jumping off the bridge. He won't say it was one, okay? Cause he didn't see it long enough. He's 4:30 in the morning, he's going to work, and he sees these two hands hit the cement side of the bridge and jumps over. It's a 40-foot drop down to the creek bed, which big rocks down there. All I can think of, someone just committed suicide. So he stops, he runs to the edge of the bridge, he's looking down, he don't see nothing. All of a sudden he hears splash, splash, real hard splashes. And he looks up as it takes off up out of the creek into the wood line. And he still won't say what it was, but he said it was very big. And it was no bear. So, yeah, the sound, he even described it was real loud, and something to be that big running in 30 inches of water. A human can't run like that in water. So, we can tell what it was, you know, but, you know, from his description, we can say it was, but we weren't there to see it either, so we can't say it. But, you know, common sense says we gotta be.
Well, I think all the, especially the game commission guys, the conspiracy, they're sworn to secrecy. Because I found a picture, this is the picture of the mountain lion that was killed in Mountain View hunting. It's the size of them, I mean, it's the size of a man.
Yes.
All right? Now, they don't tell you that these things are out there.
Yeah.
Right, which they are, I've seen them in Scranton, they have park, how big they are, all right? You know, they're out there, so they tell you that, they're not gonna tell you these are out there, they're not gonna tell you that there's something
The
walking
one
around
that was
that you
hit
think.
by Clearfield that I saw on the berm of the road was a little smaller than that one. But those paws were huge. You know, they was a big paws.
Yeah, I mean, if you hunt,
That
you
ain't no
probably, if
damn
you hunt,
bobcat.
you probably walked underneath one, you know, cause they,
Yeah.
you know, a little dog or a little kid, they'll take, but, you know,
Yeah.
if you're big enough, they won't bother with you, but they'll just, they like to pounce. And if you sit in a tree and you walk underneath them, and just, you know, they won't even move.
I keep an eye out all over.
It's readily acceptable that they're in upstate New York, correct?
Oh, yeah.
So then do they stop at the border? I mean, it's like,
Exactly.
you know, it's ridiculous.
They can't go 30 miles.
Yeah.
They don't, the game commission won't, admit that they're here, but there's also a law that you can't shoot them. So,
That's weird. Well, my last experience I'll tell you about is kind of the third one in that same area in Arizona. If you go back up that hill and you turn left wherever those two trees are, there's a little, at that time it was a dirt road. My friend lived about 5 houses down. This is the last house on the right. And I had been visiting him for an hour or so, and I decided I'm gonna go out to the lake. So when I left his place, I turned right and go through the little gate and head out. And his dog was following with me. She was about 25 feet in front of me, shepherd wolf mix, that's what it said. Good dog. All of a sudden I hear that same growl in front of me, and it's pissed off. It's just roaring again, and it's just as loud as could be. It's about a quarter mile away, I think. The dog, which lived there, stops in her tracks and looks back at me, like, you know, and she knows, she's heard that before. Well, I took off running toward it as fast as I could. And I'm pushing off the rocks, whatever, you know, the Indians taught me to kind of run off of the rocks like starting blocks. So you're kind of visualizing where you're gonna step, because these are lava rocks that were in that country. So you can twist an ankle, you can trip and break a knee, you know, you have to be aware. And there's no path there. And I'm running through the woods, I'm looking up in the side, I'm looking side to side, and I'm running as fast as I can. I get to the clearing of the trees. The tree line ends about 50 yards to the lake. And I'm out of breath. And I'm just, yeah. And I'm like 14, 15 years old, and I'm like, all right. So I decided I'm gonna walk at an angle to the lake, and I'm gonna walk along the shore to see if I find him. And I'm walking along, I get to the shore, I'm catching my breath. And I'm coming along, and about 100 yards in front of me, because I play golf, so I know what 100 yards is, I see this mud sticking up out of the bank. Not a bank, I mean the shore. I get closer and closer, and I get to about 20 feet away or so, and it's curling up toward the bank, or toward the shore. And I get up to it, and it's the right foot, half of the footprint is halfway, just sunk down, and it's about that wide and about that long, sunk down about this deep into the mud. And it's a human-shaped toes, there's no claws. And the arch, which they have a mid-tarsal break, so it's half the foot, it pushed all that weight, all that mud came up above ground. I mean, this high, curling over to the back. And the water was just starting to seep into it. And I just got this calm feeling in my body, my soul, like, like, I know now. You know, I didn't like worry. I don't remember what the dog did after I saw her there and I ran past her. Don't remember that. Blocked out what I did the rest of the day. I don't remember walking out of the woods, but I remember every detail, you know, until 20 seconds after I celebrated. I might have a hypnotist do a regression to see if I can recall a little bit more. Like maybe I passed out. I don't know. You know, I don't remember at that point to memories. You know, but the premise amazing. The amount of weight it had to have had. It had to have been 1,200 pounds because it was sunk that deep and pushed that wide, all that mud. And the mud was like this thick. It wasn't like thin mud. It was pushed a lot of mud. And then dove in the water, into the lake. All right. That's a wrap up.
Good meeting.
I might get a couple things and pay you through Facebook or Venmo.
That's fine.
I left my wallet at home somehow.
To get up.